Welcome to In Their Own Words, AINA's video series of informal interviews with people who are active participants in helping to craft the post-2015 development agenda. In this installment, we hear from 4 people sharing their personal experiences with poverty, discrimination, and exclusion. Maryanne, Palma, Julia, and Sunni hail from Boston, Massachusetts in the United States and have been part of a participatory research project facilitated by the NGO ADT Fourth World and the University of Massachusetts Boston Center for Social Policy. Their experience and that of others living in poverty brings critical knowledge to the post-2015 discussions and will help all of us learn and perhaps question what it actually means to be living in poverty and what is needed to combat the harmful biases and practices that keep people excluded.
My name is Maryanne Broxson, and as a single parent of 2, my experience with poverty has been exhausted. It's not because it seems as though I work twice as hard for half as much, but because you also have to deal with the added stigmatization and dehumanizing oppression that seem to be symbiotic with poverty and poverty policies. I'm tired of the consensus that as a poor person, it's perfectly acceptable for me to be fingerprinted, photographed, or drug tested to prove that I'm worthy of food. Hunger is not a crime, and the parental guilt is punishment enough. I'm tired of the assumption that because I'm overweight and poor, I must not know anything about nutrition. I do, but I can only afford to eat healthy food 2 weeks out of a month. After that, it's bread and pasta, the things that stick to your rib but makes you gain weight. I'm tired of knowing that there are 46 million hungry people in the United States alone, with more worldwide. When hunger isn't an incurable disease, we know how to fix it, and the first step is to stop focusing on who is deserving. Also, with 1 in 3 women in the U.S. living in poverty or near poverty, I'm tired of naive statements like marriage ends poverty, implying that as a single woman, my only way of escaping poverty is under coventry of a man, opposed to equal pay for equal work, a living wage, access to affordable daycare, full control over my reproductive choices, or affordable housing. And most of all, I'm tired of being labeled lazy and immoral based on my economic status and zip code. I'm college educated, I vote, I advocate, and when I have a little extra, I give it to the causes I care about. All things that are considered to be middle-class values. But instead, I'm shamed due to my need to access safety net programs. Beating down the self-esteem of a vulnerable person does not make them more productive. It only creates a false sense of superiority. And judging a person does not define who they are. It defines who you are as a person.
I grew up in a middle-class family. I went to college, I traveled, married, had children, and was living in a nice American middle-class world when suddenly life events thrust me into the world of poverty. I wasn't just poor. I landed in a world where I didn't know the language and I didn't know the culture. Everything was different. Because I am now poor, I am now stigmatized. I am no longer judged by accomplishments and skills. Because I am poor, I am judged by what I don't have. When I lived in affluence, if my child needed to go to the doctor, I was asked when was it convenient for me to bring him in. Now I am told I must take a midday appointment and leave the better appointment times to those parents who work. I am then criticized for taking my child out of school for medical reasons. When I lived in affluence, I would drive to the doctor's office. The round trip was plus the appointment would take less than an hour, and valet parking plus tip would be about $5. Now I must take 3 buses each way. If the bus is late, I am late and the appointment is canceled. The round trip is about 4.5 hours and car fare is $37.50. I am lucky my children still have access to high quality medical care, but it was easier and cheaper when I had money. I am judged more harshly as a parent now that I am poor. I'm believed to be lazy, irresponsible. I make poor decisions or lack parenting skills. Not long ago, I was reported to the government for being a neglectful parent. I was told my children were doing too much work at home, work I should have been doing myself. My children knew too much about family finances. They knew I went to a food pantry to get food to feed them. You see, my son was working on his Eagle Scout Award, the highest rank in Boy Scouting. To earn that rank, he had to demonstrate responsibility, including contributing to work around the house and around the community. He had to demonstrate financial responsibilities, including how to manage a family budget. As I supported him in his efforts, as I allowed him to demonstrate responsibility, I was accused of being an irresponsible parent. When I was middle class, I earned praise for my parenting skills. Now that I am poor, I am held to a different standard. I am judged by what I do not have, and not by my knowledge and skills. To paraphrase Nobel Peace Prize recipient Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream that one day my 4 children will live in a world where they will not be judged by the money in their bank account, but by the content of their character.
My name is Sunni Ali. I'm from the Boston Workers Alliance and from the Center for Social Policy at UMass, and have been asked to speak about, I'm also the chairman of the Criminal Justice Committee at the Boston Workers Alliance, and I've been asked to speak about poverty. And I tried to put poverty and the criminal justice system together because it's really from my own personal experiences that I can talk about. But it seems to me that poverty is the mother and the father of inequality, discrimination, and injustice. Poverty causes the same public safety issues in every society and every country in the world that allows it. It causes crime, it causes unemployment, it causes homelessness, it causes the legal breaking up of families, it causes bad health care, it causes death or incarceration. Unfortunately, here in America, we decide to do mass incarcerations to the citizens that are the most impoverished and the most poorest people in America. African Americans and immigrants are the most incarcerated people in America than anywhere else in the world. And if slavery is only legal in penal institutions in America, then what kind of message are we sending to all the other countries that look to America, you know, as the great hope of the world?
Hello, my name is Julia Tripp. When I think about the term inequality, it means that for those of us who are born into unfortunate circumstances, we have little possibility of escaping. That no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, people will step on you, keep you down, in order to maintain or advance themselves, their family, their friends, and they'll disdain you for never getting out. It's being classified according to your health conditions, judged and found guilty of never measuring up against a standard cruelly out of your reach. And if you try to circumvent it, you're hampered. It means never reaching your true potential. The odds are stacked against you. I'm a woman, I am African American, and I am living with HIV/AIDS. And that adds a unique angle to poverty. The social dynamic of AIDS and the impact of it ranges from the subtle to the not so subtle. And it sometimes can even explode into violence. But usually you're left just feeling less than others. The other thing that really came through strongly about how stigma affects us, many of my peers, my HIV positive peers, do not seek employment. Many do not work. We don't thrive. I was fortunate in that I met someone who gave me an opportunity. She didn't look at my status. I came in as a homeless woman. I was living with HIV/AIDS. I was suffering from depression, and she just gave me an opportunity, didn't question or challenge. And I've grown to become an advocate, a person that I can be proud of, that my family could be proud of if they would only want to know me. And along the way, I've learned and I've seen how people are afraid to go out and work. And I'll tell you, we have so much to give. We should be working. And people have become so comfortable with with accepting a check from Social Security that they buy into their disability. They don't want to work now. And yet, these have been the richest years of my life, and I am so glad I've had an opportunity to give back to the community. I've been able to tap some of my potential. Maybe I couldn't be everything I dreamed of as a child, but I've made a difference with my life, and I am contributing to an economic system that makes me feel like a responsible citizen, and I have a right to be there.